Hello everyone, Darren here with another good video. I saw the Nintendo Games tier list videos and I was thinking, why not rank the Nintendo consoles? I know there ain't that much, so I looked up the tier list and boy was I wrong. Before I get into this video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. It is simple, plus you can always unsubscribe if you change your mind. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The first console I am ranking is the original Nintendo Entertainment System. This console ran on 8-bit cartridges and had a really good game library. These consoles were really hard to break. The controller design was really iconic, which had a 4-directional button D-pad, 2 buttons in the middle for a start and select button, plus 2 red buttons on the right for the B and A buttons. Unlike the Atari consoles, the Nintendo ran on the basic red, white, and yellow composite cables and had a circular power cord. What made this console really outstanding was its game library, and if you think that is nothing, the console saved the game market from crashing to Atari's flooded game library. I am putting this in the guaranteed S++ tier for now. Next on the list, I have the Super Nintendo. This was made after the Nintendo I ranked earlier, and has increased from 8-bit to 16-bit graphics. They made the AV cables into 1 to red, white, and yellow cables, and they made the power ports a little bit larger. The controllers had the same design on the left side and in the middle, but on the right we now have 4 buttons instead of 2, and 2 buttons on the top for the L and R shoulder buttons. The library was really good to other people, but for me, I will say it was alright. I guess I liked the really old stuff. Sega made the Genesis to compete with them, but failed miserably. Now if you looked at the bottom of the console, you could see another cartridge-sized port. At the time, Sony and Nintendo was trying to make an attachment to the consoles to play CDs, but after a few mess-ups and wasted money, they parted away from each other, which ended up adding another company into the console war. This is going to be in the S tier. It looks like I am going into the handhelds already. This is the original Game Boy. It is a revolutionary console, and was the first handheld Nintendo has ever made. It had a gray shell, the standard D-pad on the left side, and 2 pinkish red buttons that is facing a 45-degree angle upwards. This thing also took a medium-sized cartridge. The graphics was 8-bit due to the limitations. The problem that everyone had with this is that the screen is only front-lit, meaning you had to point the Game Boy in the right angle to see your game, and you had a contrast knob on the right side along with a power button, which also means you had to run off of AA batteries. Not just 2 batteries, but 4! But at least you could play it non-stop for about 2 days without having to worry about it. This console caused more problems than it did good, unfortunately, so I'm putting this in the B tier. A few years later, Nintendo improved the Game Boy with the Game Boy Color. This Game Boy read the original games, plus it had a few games of its own library. It had a smaller design and now takes 2 batteries, which now lasts a day and a half of non-stop play. But it still has the same front lid screen, now without a contrast button. There were a few models of this Game Boy Color like the Pikachu one. This console still had the 8-bit graphics, but now has color, and if you press certain buttons on the boot up, the game loads in different color palettes. The cool thing about these Game Boy cartridges is that Nintendo also released a cartridge for the Super Nintendo, so you can also play it on your TV. This is going to B tier in front of the original Game Boy. For the final console of this episode, here is one of Nintendo's worst marketing consoles, the Virtual Boy. This was a 32-bit console that had the weirdest design out of all the consoles I have ever seen. The Virtual Boy headset went into a weird angled stand that will sometimes fall over if you place it wrong. You had to put 6 AA batteries into controller. Yes, you heard me right. I said 6 AA's. You connected the controller into the headset and put the game into the front of the Virtual Boy. The cartridges were like the Game Boy cartridges but a bit wider. The controller also had a weird design. It had a D-pad on each side of the controller. On the left side, you had 2 gray buttons for your start and select. On the other side, you had 2 red buttons for your B and A. When you boot up a game on the console and put the headset on, you are going to notice that the screen is all red. Every color of the games were the shade of red. And from what I've heard, people have gotten some problems over this. You can now understand why this was a commercial failure. And to make things worse, the library collection was really small, but it consisted of a few good games. So this is going into the F- tier. This is going to be the end of the first episode of Ranking Nintendo Consoles. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay tuned for the second episode later on in the week. Bye!